And we are live. What's good, people? Sorry about the delays. I'm getting used to this stuff, man. I trying to make thumbnails and find time hacks and do all kind of stuff with what we're gonna talk about today. And I'm gonna have to give myself more time. Whiskey Earn, what's good, brother? We are going live, folks. Yes, sir. We are here. Uh, Thanks for being here, bro. You know what I mean? The Tampa area up in here representing y'all, representing. Excuse me while I do what I always do and follow my own stream. Let's see, videos, bam, live. Here we go. I'm following me. How y'all doing? It's Thursday. It is 2:28 in the afternoon, and I came across an article 2 days ago. I thought it was fascinating. It's done by the Pew Research Center, how the American middle class has changed in the past 5 decades. And when I saw it, immediately something clicked in my mind. If y'all looking at the thumbnail, you'll see pictures of Andrew Tate. Shout out to you, brother Cobra Tate. You're and Tristan and the whole Tate clan, war room, all that. Respect. I met Brother Tate through the Freshman Fit platform. I was lucky enough to be in studio one night when he popped in, and I told the brother when I met him, you know what I mean. First of all, I just want to say, like, when you see him online, when you go, you Google him. For those who don't know him, when you go and watch him, you see what he's saying. He comes off a certain way. Now you gotta understand, there is a bit of the entertainment factor that goes on within this community on YouTube. Y'all know what it is. There's a bit of that going on, right? So take that with a grain of salt. In other words, when you see Arnold Schwarzenegger or you see Sylvester Stallone or whoever actor that's out there, or even these politicians, you know what I mean? People present a certain way. And in my line of work, my former career, I was an air traffic controller, and I would train other air traffic controllers. And one of the things I would tell them is when they came up into the tower, like when you climb into the glass bubble, you have to be the most extreme version of yourself. You have to be 100% certain of your abilities. You have to be. There's no way to really do the job well if you don't. It's going to be a struggle if you don't. If you go up in the tower, or if you walk into the Tracon on a control floor somewhere and you're not sure what you're doing, you're gonna have the longest day you've ever had in your life, and you're not gonna enjoy the business one bit, because you're telling people what to do. Their lives are entrusted to you as an air traffic controller, and if you're not confident in your instructions, they're not gonna listen. They're not gonna listen. So there's always a bit of acting involved. These watchers, what's good, brother? It was good interacting with you, man. I can't wait to holler at you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Keep doing your thing, man. I'm still working my way through your content, bro. It's golden. I like what you're doing over there. Needs watches, y'all go check him out. Go check out his YouTube page. His Instagram as well, same as Needs Watches on Instagram. Yo, check him out. The brother knows what he's talking about when it comes to watches. And I'm wearing one of my walk arounds, man. I got the Hamilton on today because we were talking about Hamiltons. I'm like, let me put the Hamilton on. So you know, when you watch someone on YouTube, when you go and you research someone like Andrew Tate, you got to understand that you're going to see a version on camera. Even with me, you're going to see a version on camera that's different than the off-camera version. When I go on stage to perform, I am presenting myself a certain way. So I think we all know that, but it needs to be said, because I got a lot of people who give me a lot of grief over Fresh and Fit. They talk a lot of stuff about, like, Rich Cooper, Donovan Sharp, Andrew Tate. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. The people from the manosphere, you know what I mean? The Romeo Papa side of the world, these people, they lash out, with the shaming language and all that kind of stuff. But I take the time to go and meet folks. That's my thing. So if you hear me holler out my mouth about somebody, you know what I mean? Like when I talk about my dudes over there, what they're doing at F&F, and when I talk about, like, we're going to talk about Andrew Tate a little bit today. I've met these men. We've shaken hands. We've made eye contact. I know the type of person they are. You dig? And I know the way they were treating me. And it's one of the things my father always taught me: treat people the way you want to be treated. these men treat me with respect, and I treat them with respect. You dig? So it is what it is. But I challenge you to do that in life. Instead of making up your mind about somebody and I hate this person or this person is a clown or this, that, and the third, go meet that person. Go meet them. Right? It's not like these people are hiding. Right? So that's what I do. Before I make final judgment, I go meet cats. Like, you know what? Before I commit to what they're doing, let me meet these people. And if I can't meet them, if I can't get to them and I have means, I normally don't have a problem getting to somebody. At least shake their hand, say hello, have a few words. If I can't, right, if they make it that difficult to reach them, then it might be something there. You feel me? It just might be something there. Maybe there's a reason they don't want you to get close to them. Maybe, that's when you start getting into that. They're trying to hide this and that and whatever. So anyway, I said all that to say this. I met the brother talking about Andrew Tate, shook his hand. We shared words, a real cool guy, deep thinker. And that's why I put him on there, because he said some things on the Fresh Fit podcast and on other podcasts. He's, a lot of people talk to him. Does a lot of interviews. He says some profound things. You can tell he's a thinker, right? And you don't have to agree with everything someone says, but kind of go through it and listen to what they say, break it down, right? Let it marinate, let it process a little bit. So one of the things that Brother Tate said, and I was trying to find, it's part of the reason why I was running just a hair late. I was trying to find it. I couldn't remember what episode I saw it on. But one of his sayings is there are two types of people now, the way the world has been moving and is currently moving. There's two types. You got the have-nots and the have-yachts. And if y'all have watched me on this platform, you've heard me say that multiple times. The have-nots and the have-yachts. And the question becomes, what team you gonna be on? And people always look at me like, bro, you extreme, man. You pushing it too far. This, that, and the third, whatever. Okay, right? Because I came up, man. We didn't have a whole lot of stuff, man. We was doing what we was doing, and I do understand wealth, and I do understand the lack of it. And yeah, it's a big distance. It's a huge divide there. Having money and not having money. And then there's having wealth and there's not having wealth, right? There's levels to it. And things are changing and people aren't paying attention. This information is out here. This information has never been easier to get. It's right here. It's right here. It's in your hands, in your pocket, right? It's clipped to your belt. It's hanging from your wrist. It's anything you want to know about everything that goes on in our existence. You can find out. You don't have to go to a library. You don't have to climb a mountain and talk to a shaman. You don't have to go talk to an oracle, right? You can simply look it up. So keep that in mind, y'all. Because people act surprised when things happen. Like, I don't know why you're surprised. It's right here. Other people are telling you to look out for this stuff. They're telling you, look. Right? One of the things in America, man, everybody's worried about bread. Everybody's worried about money. You dig? Everybody's worried about it. This. Everybody, it's all about, it's this. I got the bread. I got, you know what I mean? They wrap the money up. They fake the money and all that. This is what they worried about, right? This right here. It's worthless. This is paper. That's all it is, man. There's nothing backing currency today. The U.S. dollar is backed by nothing. Nothing. It's paper. We are dancing on a very, very thin line. One of my favorite movies is Snatch. Guy Ritchie film. Shout out to Guy Ritchie. And all those people, and one of the characters in there was Bricktop. He was one of the bad guys. And if anyone watches any Guy Ritchie movies, there are no good guys and bad guys. They're just all bad guys. It's just bad and worse. So Bricktop was definitely one of the beasts, one of the bad guys. And there was a line in there when he was talking to Turkish and he was talking to Tommy in the movie, and those are the two main characters. And he was telling them that you're dancing on thin ice, my pedicure chums, something like that. And when it breaks, I'll be beneath it, or something he was saying like that. I'm hacking up the line, but it's a beautiful line. It's like you're dancing on thin ice, and when it breaks, I'll be right there waiting on you. And that's how I look at our economy right now, man. We are dancing on thin ice, people, right? And going back to what Brother Tate said, have nots, have yachts. You better pick a team. You better figure it out, because when the ice breaks, the have yachts are going to be on their boat, and the have nots are going to be in the water trying to figure it out. You dig? So with all that said, let me pull up this article that I found. Is right here. I'm gonna hit the share button. This is fun, by the way, y'all. I like doing this. I really do enjoy doing this. So this article, really fascinating read. April 20th, 2022, Pew Research Center put this out. If you Google American middle class change, or something like that, American middle class, how the American middle class has changed over the past 5 decades. If you Google that in there, put those in your search engine, it'll come up. And so this article just really blew me away. The middle class wants an economic sanctum of a clear majority of Americans. Stratum of a clear majority of American adults has steadily contracted in the past 5 decades. The share of adults who live in middle class households fell from 61% in 1971 to 50% in 2021, according to a new Pew Research analysis of government data. So think about that. I was born in 1970, right? So a year after I was born, 61% of Americans were considered middle class. 61%. And now in 2021, it's 50%. And people are like, well, it's not much, man. What was that, 11 points? That's not bad. It is. It is bad. It's not good. It's going the wrong way. Right? That middle class is the backbone of the American structure. All right. Without the middle class, there is no America. You always hear politicians talking about this, right? You always hear this. You're gonna start hearing this again, because we're in the midterm election cycle. You're gonna hear this again when we get to the next national cycle. This is all they talk about: destroying the middle class. They always talk about they talk about the middle class. They talk about taxes. And they talk about big government, right? And depending on what side of the aisle you're on or whatever, you always hear these talking points. So this is a big thing. The middle class is being slowly chipped away. And this is not a good thing. This is not a good thing at all. And then it goes on. The shrinking of the middle class has been accompanied by an increase in the share of adults in the upper income tier from 14% in 1971 to 21% in 2021, as well as an increase in the share who are in the lower income tier from 25% to 29%. These changes have occurred gradually as the share of adults in the middle class decreased in each decade from 1971 to 2011, but then held steady through 2021. So, it's like, so what, what's this all about, bro? Like, and I challenge everybody to pull this up and read this article. There are tons of graphs and there's a lot of data here. So right there in that paragraph, it goes to Brother Tate's points, man. It is, you're going from being comfortable, just having a regular life, living that Disney fairy tale, right? You got a wife. If you're a woman, you got a husband, 2.5 kids, white picket fence, live in a good neighborhood, get vacation time, and all that kind of stuff, right? That's going away. That's almost gone. That's almost gone. 'Cause when I was born, most people had medical insurance. Just to give you one little caveat there, and think about that. Go out there and think about it. Most people back in the 70s had medical insurance, right? Most people had 40-hour work. They had the 40-hour work week. They had jobs. They had benefits. Most people, they had that. That was the norm. It was, the thought of some sort of gig culture or having to have multiple jobs really wasn't a thing. That was just starting to become a thing. And what it meant mom went to work, right? Because it was mostly dad would go out, work, and support the kids and be able to afford college for the kids and, have vacations and have cars, sometimes 2 cars. We're able to go out and eat, every now and then, because back then that was like a treat to go out and eat. Nowadays, people don't, the treat is to be able to stay in the house and actually cook. But so they broke this down, and I think they have I want to say 6 or 7 points, right? So number one, household incomes have risen considerably since 1970, but those of middle-class households have not climbed nearly as much as those in upper income households, right? So when the politicians come and state these numbers, and they'll say Americans have never done so well, Americans are making more money now than ever before, which group of Americans are they talking about? Because, and with the inflation starting to hit us, we haven't seen this kind of inflation since the late 70s, early 80s, it's really going to get difficult moving forward. The median income of middle-class households in 2020 was 50% greater than in 1970. So 2020, the median income is $90,131 versus $59,934 back in 1970. As measured in 2020 dollars. So they're not comparing, they're comparing apples to apples, not apples to oranges. These gains were realized slowly, but for the most part, steadily, with the exception of the period from 2000 to 2010, the so-called lost decade, when incomes fell across the board. So you gotta look at that. Last call, what's good, brother? Good afternoon to you. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. I would say his credit cards are more popular now than 50. Oh yeah, absolutely. And credit cards were harder to get back then. I was talking to some people, older people, because I love to talk to folks, and I would get insight from folks. And they were telling me that back in the 70s, you could write off your credit card interest. That was a write-off on your taxes. Imagine that. Imagine if you can write off your credit card interest today. Imagine that. So, things have definitely changed. And it goes on to say the median income for lower income households grew more slowly than that of middle class households, increasing from $20,604 in 1970 to $29,963 in 2020, or 45%. So they're basically showing how the numbers are going up, right? Slowly going up. But we're going to get into it. It's going to also start showing these gaps, and these divides that are out there, and who exactly is being affected. And then last call, the average person has less than $1,000 in savings too. Yeah, the average American household cannot handle an unexpected expense of $500. $500 sinks the ship. That's it. If something comes up, they need to come up with something happens to the car, or there's some sort of accident or whatever. You got to come up with $500. The average American can't do it. They have to use credit or borrow money or something like that. I talked about that on one of my other episodes when I was talking about I think it was the 1% or something like that. But that's insane. The average family can't come up with $500, and we got a problem. And that's been the case for a while. That's been the case for a while. So when someone really gets sick and they don't have medical insurance, it's a wrap. They go bankrupt. They go bankrupt or they die. Man, that's just how it is right now. So as a result of the changes, the gaps in the income of the upper income and other households also increased. In 2020, the median income of upper income households was 7.3 times that of lower income houses, up from 6.3 in 1970. The median income of upper income households was 2.4 times that of the middle income households in 2020, up 2.2% in 1970. Right. So I mean, they start to delve into it, like what's going on with this. So they do come in with these charts and all that, and when you get to point, like you're getting to point two, and they get into talking about income held by the middle class has fallen steadily since 1970, right? And they're talking about the aggregate the share of the aggregate U.S. household income held by the middle class has fallen steadily since 1970. This is the stuff that we really should be taking a look at and trying to figure out why, right? The widening of the income gap and the shrinking of the middle class has led to a steady decrease in the share of U.S. aggregate income held by the middle class households. In 1970, adults in the middle income households accounted for 62% of the aggregate income, a share that fell to 42% in 2020. That's a 20% drop, right? So again, they're talking about the middle class shrinking. If and some people are moving up, and some people are moving down, right? But the middle class is definitely going away, and that should worry a lot of folks. This country, our way of life was based on the middle class. It always has been, and if we lose the middle class, who knows what it's going to look like? It's a scary thought. Meanwhile, the share of aggregate income accounted for by the upper income households has increased steadily from 29% in 1970 to 50% in 2020. Part of this increase reflects the rising share of adults who are in the upper income tier. So yeah, people are moving up. People are definitely moving up. And then it's going to delve into who was moving up and who's getting left behind, and they do it by race, they do it by gender. It's pretty cool. So and they also talked about the aggregate share held by lower income households as down from 10% to 8% over these 5 decades, even though the proportion of adults living in lower income households increased over this period. That's crazy. So it's less money at the bottom. So keep that in mind, y'all. Less money at the bottom. Right. So and then it's good news for old people and black folks. In section 3 here, older Americans and black adults made the greatest progress up the income ladder from 1971 to 2021. And that kind of makes sense, I guess, if you think about it. I mean, you look at affirmative action, you look at set asides. I mean, there were quotas like people had to fill these slots, in different industries, and it would definitely seem to be a net gain for those people who benefited from that. People of color, in particular, black folks, women, especially black women, and older people, and older folks. I think they were saying that they think the increase with the progress with reference to older people is because they're working longer. People like me who are retired and then they actually go and work, which they have to because the dollar isn't as strong and their pensions won't take them that far, depending on where you live. So, like if I lived in California, for instance, and not being able to work as an air traffic controller, I would definitely have to do something. I would have to work really hard doing something else, and it wouldn't have helped because it's just so expensive in California to live. It is what it is. Older Americans and black adults made the greatest progress, or we talked about that. Among adults overall, the share who were in the upper income tier increased from 14% in 1971 to 21% in 2021, or by 7 percentage points. Meanwhile, the share of lower income tier increased from 25% to 29%, or by 4 points. On balance, this represented a net gain of 3 percentage points in income status for all adults. So the numbers are showing that people are making more money. They on paper it looks good. Like they're doing it, but how are they doing it? And where's that money going? And in other words, like, are they able to save money? We don't think so, because we've already discussed how the average American family can't afford an unexpected expense of $500. Meanwhile, if you're in the upper tier, $500, that's just drinks at the bar, right? $500, that's lunch. You dig? So you see that there's this disparity there. This huge disparity is just there. Something to look at, something to think about. Those ages 65 and older made the most notable progress up the income ladder from 1971 to 2021. They increased their share in the upper income tier while reducing their share in the lower income tier, resulting in a net gain of 25 points. Progress among adults 65 and older was likely driven by an increase in labor force participation, rising educational levels, and by the role of Social Security payments in reducing poverty. So there you go. That makes sense, but at the same time, it's sad because they have to go out here and bust their butt. You got to go out here and make it and hustle after they retire, knowing that the Social Security is not going to be enough to sustain them. And then, they made reference to education. Of course, we know and we accept that the more education you have, the better your odds of finding a better paying job, getting into, actually having a career as opposed to a job. And if you do have a career, you're looking at 401ks, you're looking at some sort of pension sometimes. And depending on how far up you go, you could be looking at golden parachutes and all that kind of stuff. So that makes sense when you think about it. Black adults as well as married men and women were also among the biggest gainers from 1971 to 2021, with net increases ranging from 12 to 14 percentage points, which, again, set aside affirmative action. We had to make laws to try to bring some sort of equality especially to the African American community, and there were a bunch of laws for that. And I know for a fact that they did a lot on the educational fronts, especially getting into the 80s and probably even to the 90s. I remember back in the late 70s, they had this initiative going on. This was in Cincinnati, Ohio, where they would bus kids from the inner cities out to the suburbs because the suburbs had better schools. I was part of that. And that was one of those things where I'm sure it worked for a lot of people. It didn't work for me. The cultural differences and what was going on in my personal life, it just didn't jive. And I got into situations. I was in the 5th grade. I fought a lot. Not that I was that kid, but it came to me. Like you bring a black kid from inner city and you dump him into a white suburban type situation, and I mean it was what it was. You get tested. I got tested by the bullies. It's like a kung fu flick. Somebody comes and they test you and you beat them up, and then they go get their big brother and he beats you up, and then they finally bring the master and you beat him up, and next thing you know you're sitting on top, just like Afro Samurai. Now you got the #1 headband and all these people will come gunning for you. So, and luckily it was just, we were fighting. It wasn't like there were no weapons involved or anything like that. We were kids. We were just fighting. I would fight off the bullies, whatever. I would stand up for my little friends. I had a couple friends out there. But the biggest thing about being bussed, the thing that really sucked, was you couldn't participate in anything, at least I couldn't, as far as sports or anything extracurricular that took place in and around the school. So you're talking about like the Boy Scouts, you're talking about like sports and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't be on any of the teams because I couldn't stay. I had to get on the bus. They had to drive me home. So, and my mom worked. So it wasn't like I can have a family member come get me so I can, be on this team or be on that team and all that. So that led to frustrations and stuff like that. So, I mean, they were trying. So that's one of the things they were trying, affirmative action, this sort of thing. It is what it is. On the other hand, not having at least a bachelor's degree resulted in a noticeable degree of economic regression over this period. Adults with high school diploma or less education, as well as those with some college experience but no degree, saw sizable increases in their shares in the lower tier in the past 5 decades. Although no single group of adults by education category moved up the income ladder from 1971 to 2021, adults overall realized gains by boosting their educational levels. The share of adults 25 and older who had completed at least 4 years of college stood at 38% in 2021 compared with only 11% in 1971. And that's big. That's big. And I mean, that goes to all the stuff that people are talking about. You know, you go to school, get your education, you're going to get these, these jobs, you're going to have more opportunities. That still holds true to today, but it's a double-edged sword, because the other side of that is you spend all that money getting that degree and you fall into that trap. You're getting approved on all kind of loans because you're a student, and you come out with severe debt, and that doesn't help your situation. In fact, you'll be able to maintain that for a while, but at some point, if you don't get that debt paid back and it doesn't go anywhere, remember, you can't discharge that debt through bankruptcy. So you get to that point where it'll drag you under. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Like, you want to go to college. Yes, that's going to help you. Yes. But if you get a lot of debt, it's going to hurt you. So, and then once you get done with school, you're going to have family, friends, and stuff like that who are going to need your help. So every time you start to get, maybe a little bit ahead of the game, start getting a little money here, a little money there, something goes wrong in the family and there's pressure on you to help out. So it's really difficult. So keep that in mind, young people, if you're out there thinking about going to school. Go to school, absolutely, but try not to get a lot of debt. That's scary. So, and then progress up from the income ladder from the demographic group does not necessarily signal its economic status in comparison with the other groups at a given point in time. For example, in 2021, adults aged 65 and older and Black adults were still more likely than many other groups to be lower income and less likely to be middle or upper income. So even with all that said, and all this progress being made with education and old people and Black people, if you're Black and old, still more than likely you're going to be in the bottom class, that absolute bottom tier, that lower income tier, which is crazy. And anyone who's come, from the hood, or anybody that's just come, from what I consider normal, like the bubbles that I'm used to, it's really hard to get out of it. They talk about the traps, and to do it right. That's why so many people, they go to the dark side. That's why so many people, they get out there and they grind, they try to make the money however they're going to get it, right? And that's a trap in itself. So once you do that, you get out there, you want to grind, you know what I'm saying? You want to go out there, get you an ounce or whatever, and you want to crank that, get you, now you work your way up to a quarter, work your way up to the, a whole thing, you're going to get caught. And once you get caught, it's a wrap. You ain't doing nothing. That's it. Once that's on your record, that's it. You're a felon. You can forget about it. You can't leave that life. So keep that in mind too. You're thinking about getting that bread. I'm gonna get out here and crank and get this money. You ain't get that money. Guess what? Them boys know what you're doing. You get big enough, the feds will watch. The feds will actually let you do it. They let you do it. They just don't want you messing with the stuff that's gonna kill people. They don't want you messing with fent. They don't want you messing with that heroin. They don't want you messing with, certain types of opiates that's going to, make the news and make it look like they ain't doing their job. So you just got that powder. They're going to let you rock. And one day you're going to trip. You're going to come up off your tippy toes and they're going to be waiting. You know what I mean? Same thing. Thin ice, my pedicure chum. And when that ice breaks, them feds are waiting on you. So if you're going to do that, you know what I'm saying? But understand something. You get caught. Sit down, man, do your time, because that's the choice you made. And that is going to definitely impact your future. So enough of that. So down to point 4. And I thought this was interesting. This is very, very interesting. This part coming up. Married adults and those in multi-earner households made more progress up the income ladder from 1971 to 2021 than their immediate counterparts. I thought this was really, really interesting. Generally, partnered adults have better outcomes on a range of economic outcomes than the unpartnered. One reason is that marriage is increasingly linked to education attainment, which bears fruit in terms of higher incomes. So I mean, I just looked at that when I first read it, glanced at it. I mean, it does make sense, right? So, and this goes into the Romeo Papa, Bravo Papa part of the world, man, especially the RP side. Everyone on that side, not everyone, but most of the guys on the Romeo Papa side of the world will state this one thing, right? And I know Andrew Tate does, and I know Fresh and Fit does. Men or women are better together than apart. And this is what they're talking about. Couples are killing it. They out there killing the game right now. And it makes sense. Even Kevin Samuels talks about this. When you join forces, you can do more. I spoke on this on Suzette Speaks show. We were talking about is marriage dead and all that. I spoke on this. We are better together. So for every dollar I can hustle on my own, for every dollar I can get out there and I can just grind and crank on my own, if I had a significant other, a true partner, like y'all want to say ride or die, if I had that, I think I can make $100 for every dollar that I can make on my own, because you got that support. You got that person that's right there, not just being a cheerleader, but is like your executive officer. They right there. They in the trenches with you. That makes complete sense to me. Complete sense. Yeah, I bet you couples are making more money than single people. They have more money to play with, especially if they're educated, right? Especially if they got the better jobs. They got more money to play with. Married men and women distribute across the income tiers identically to each other in both 1971 and 2021. Both groups nearly doubled their share in the upper income tier in the past 5 decades, from 14% in 1971 to 27% in 2021. And neither group experienced an increase in the share in the lower tier. So they killing it. Both men and women are doing well, right? Both those groups went up and those groups didn't fall back. Unmarried men and women were much more likely than their married counterparts to be in the lower income tier in 2021. And unmarried men, in particular, experienced a sizable increase in their share in the lower income tier from 1971 to 2021, and a similarly large decrease in their share in the middle income tier. Right? They're falling off. Nonetheless, unmarried men are less likely than unmarried women to be lower income and more likely to be middle income. Wow. Unmarried men are less likely than unmarried women to be lower income and more likely to be middle income. So single sisters, sounds like y'all got work to do. That's crazy. Adults in households with more than one earner fare much better economically than adults in the households with only one earner. Adults in households with more than one earner. So multiple earners in a household do better than the standard archetype of, the one sole breadwinner. That makes sense. In 2021, some 20% of adults in multi-earner households were in the lower income tier, compared with 53% of adults in single earner households. Also, the adults in multi-earner households were more than twice as likely as adults in single earner households to be in the upper income tier in 2021. In the long haul, adults in single earner households are among the groups who slid down the income ladder the most from 1971 to 2021. So In 2021, some 20% of adults in multi-earner households were in the lower income tier, compared with 53% of single adults. Wow. Wow. Like those numbers ain't no joke, y'all. That's wow. And like they say in the Romeo Papa side of the world, men and women, we are better together than we are apart. Here's some stats right here. And for every section here, we're coming up on part 5. For every part, they have the numbers. They have graphs, as you guys can see in there. And they also break down how they came, how they gathered the info and how they did all this. All that's in there. So everyone's talking about relationships, and women and men are trying to figure out how they can get together. And then there's the hypergamy, and then men cheat, they say. And, then you got all this other stuff. Like women don't want a guy who's making less than them. You got all the smoke and mirrors, all the stuff is going on out there. Meanwhile, people are staying single and they are slipping, and they're being drug under. They're falling down into the lower tiers, right? Because of what? You're looking for a soulmate? That's not a thing, people. Soulmate's not a thing. Perfection in a relationship, not a thing. And you're holding out. Oh, I want to get a top tier guy, a high value guy, or whatever. And I'm not even going to look at this guy who's making $10,000 less a year than me. But the thing is, if you were to get with a guy, ladies, I'm talking to y'all now, but if you were to get with the guy who made $10,000 less than you, y'all gonna kill it, because everything you do is split in half. You think about that. Like you don't have to maintain your own home, all your bills, all that kind of stuff. Y'all gonna merge up, and you can buy a nice home and start to create that wealth. You'll have money left over to where you can start looking at investments. You might be able to, if you want, invest in crypto, or get yourself a real nice stock portfolio going on, or start a side business. You worried about that $10,000 gap. But if y'all get together and y'all click and y'all figure out how y'all gonna make it work, think about that. Dude could leave his job completely. You worried about that 10,000, but Dude could walk away from his job completely, start a business, and next thing you know, y'all making $150,000 on his business. It's a possibility. We are better together than apart. And I mean, this hits home with me. I mean, I'm single. I am. It is what it is. I have my reasons, but you can't let negative experiences in life close you off to possibilities in the future of real success. And that's what I struggle with. That's one of the things that I'm doing right now. You're like, you know what? Let me reassess my situation. Let me hold right here. Let me rally up right here. Let me reassess my situation. Let's look at what's going on the ground. Right. Let me come up with some adjustments to my battle plan and then move forward. So just something to think about, y'all. Let's see. All right, put that up there. And we got Lord Ill. What's good, brother? Welcome. The poorest group in America is single mothers. Second is single women. Third is single fathers, and married couples come in last. Okay. Yeah, Lord, let me know what state your sources, brother. Where'd you get that from? I would love to have it. If there's something out there to back that up. And I'm just looking at what Pew was talking about here, with who was moving around in the tiers. And it seemed like couples, and the married couples especially, seem to be moving up out of the middle class tiers into the upper tiers, and none of them are moving down into the lower tiers, whereas their single counterparts are, according to this Pew Research study. Part 5, despite progress, Black and Hispanic adults trail behind other groups in their economic status. Yeah, people of color will definitely agree with this. Although Black adults made some of the biggest strides up the income tiers from 1971 to 2021, they, along with Hispanic adults, are more likely to be in the lower income tier than are white or Asian adults. About 40% of both Black and Hispanic adults were lower income in 2021. Wow. Wow, 40% is pretty big, compared with 24% of white adults and 22% of Asian adults. That's huge, y'all. That's huge. I mean, we're twice the number. That's crazy. Black adults are the only major racial and ethnic group that did not experience a decrease in its middle class share, which stood at 47% in 2021, about the same as in 1971. White adults are the only group in which more than half, 52%, lived in middle class households in 2021, albeit after declining from 63% in 1971. Wow, there it is, white privilege. But hey, that doesn't exist. Just ask people on in a certain political realm, they say that didn't exist, but there are the numbers. At the top end, only about 1 in 10 Black and Hispanic adults were upper income in 2021, compared with 1 in 4 or more white and Asian adults. That's a huge disparity, y'all. Huge. It is what it is. It is what it is. That's I mean, yeah, we're getting better. I mean, I'm proof of that. You know what I mean? I came a long way, a very, very long way. And you know, it wasn't skill. I'm gonna tell you that. It wasn't that I had an effective network starting where I started, because I did not. It was a lot of luck along the way. A lot of luck. It was mostly hard work. 95% hard work, and I'll say 5% luck. I met the right people, and my family, my parents, my dad, you know, the people, the grown-ups in my life, teachers and counselors, prepared me in such a way that when those opportunities came, I was able to take full advantage. Simple things like knowing how to shake a hand, you know, and believe it or not, watching cartoons, being a latchkey kid with those kids back in the 70s and 80s who went home to an empty house. They locked themselves in with their key, which they normally wore around their neck, and they stayed in the house because, you know, our parents couldn't afford childcare or anything like that. And that's what we did. We just stayed in the house. So what did I do? I watched a lot of television. I watched a lot of cartoons. I watched a lot of old cartoons. I watched a lot of syndication. I watched a lot of old TV shows. I watched a lot of public broadcasting. So I had a broader knowledge of things that my counterparts, you know what I mean, like my cohort, my friends in the hood, they didn't, because they was outside playing, doing kid stuff. I'm inside watching documentaries on the Vietnam War. I'm watching documentaries on Apollo moon landings and the you know, the space race. I knew about Sputnik. You know what I mean? I'm watching Bugs Bunny doing cartoons that he was doing opera and stuff like that. I'm listening to music. I'm watching the Munsters and the Addams Family and all this kind of stuff. And I'm getting all this culture that's just coming into me, this little black kid. I'm just soaking it all up. And later in life, when I sit around with folks, I don't care how old they are, I can relate to them on some level. Like they'll bring up something about how TV is different, and then I'll bring up something like, yeah, you know, wasn't F Troop a great little show? And it'll blow their mind. We'll talk about the Beverly Hillbillies, or we'll talk about the Flying Nun. Shout out to Sally Fields, Flying Nun, and Gidget. We'll talk about Gidget. And these are the shows that they watched when they were growing up, black and white programming, like, and then they all transfer over into Technicolor later. But I was familiar. I watched the same episodes that they watched, My Three Sons and all that kind of stuff. And you might be listening to me now like, bro, you sound crazy right now. But I'm telling you, it's those small things that get you over the hump, right? I can't tell you how many times I got opportunities because I watched F Troop. I watched, you know, I would talk about we would talk about our favorite episodes of the Addams Family. We would talk about my favorite Martian, or Mr. Ed, the talking horse. Mr. Ed, it's crazy, right? I had these conversations with older people, and they would they would never forget me. Right? Like, I had people pull me aside, like, look, I can't get you this job, this position right here, but stay in touch with me, right? And then, you know, they'll talk about, you know, make a reference to one of the TV shows or whatever. Like, all right, I stay in touch with you, and I'll walk away thinking like, that white man ain't never gonna put me on. And guess what? A month later, call me up. I got a position for you. right? Simply because we was vibing over an old TV show. So it's just, it's something to think about, food for thought. So the relative economic status of men and women has changed little from 1971 to 2021. Both experienced similar percentage points increases in the shares in the lower and upper income tiers, and both saw double-digit decreases in the shares who are middle class. Women remain more likely than men to live in lower income households in 2021, 31% versus 26%. Right? So women do have it hard out there, y'all. I mean, and reading this is it does make sense to me. And it kind of goes to this get the bag mentality, right? Get the bag. Because maybe women know on some level, like, yo, we losing out here. We got to get it. We got to make sure we have that stability. Right. And that's, again, on the Romeo Papa side of the world, that's what people talk about. They talk about that stability. Like, why are women so fixated on the money? Right. And it seems like they need to be, because I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I talked to a lot of beautiful women in my day. And to this day, I like to talk to folks. And most women, like most people, but we're talking about women now, but most people are broke, y'all. Most people are hurting. These numbers back it up. So, and if a woman knows all I got is this beauty, she's definitely going to try to leverage that to get things that she needs for her and for her family, and especially if she has kids. So I understand that. And they don't want to, they don't want to take the chance on a guy who doesn't have it now. So, you always hear women talking about, well, if he has potential. Younger women will take a guy who doesn't necessarily have it now, but has the potential to get it in the future. Older women ain't even going to take that chance. It's just too much for them to risk. So, and that's part of it. Just looking at these numbers. Adults 65 and older continue to lag economically despite decades of progress. And that's crazy. But again, it makes sense. The share of adults age 65 and older in the lower income tier fell from 54% in 1971 to 37%. So they're making progress in 2021. Their share in the middle class rose from 39% to 47%, and their share in the upper income tier increased from 7% to 16%. So yeah, on paper, it looks like they're killing it, right? They're going the right direction on all levels. They look like they're killing it. However, adults 65 and older are the only age group in which more than 1 in 3 adults are in lower income households, and they are much less likely than adults ages 30 to 44, as well as those ages 45 to 64, to be in the upper income tier. So yeah, they're doing better at the lowest and middle tiers, but it doesn't seem like they're breaking through to the highest tier, and that's probably because they're old. They're old. I mean, your body hurts after a while, bro. Like, you just can't seem to get there. So that could be it. I don't know. All other age groups experienced an increase in the shares who are lower income from 1971 to 2021, as well as decreases in the shares who are middle income, but they also saw increases in the shares who were upper income. Among adults ages 30 to 44, for instance, the share in upper income households almost doubled from 12% in 1971 to 21% in 2021. So the younger generations are killing it. They're younger, they're healthier, they're stronger, they're able to work longer and harder. When you get to a certain age, when you're older, it's only so much you can do. And it is what it is. So point 7, there is a sizable and growing income gap between adults with a bachelor's degree and those with lower levels of education. I'm glad we got to this part right here. It gets into the education, and it gets into that investment in yourself as far as higher education and how that translates. So in 2021, 4 in 10 adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 39%, were in the upper income tier, compared with 16% or less among those without a bachelor's degree. The share of adults in the upper income tier with at least a bachelor's degree edged up from 1971 to 2021, while the share without bachelor's degrees either edged down or held constant. Now, sorry about that. I thought I heard something, y'all. Don't worry. I stay strapped. But I mean, that tells you right there. They're looking at, if you get the higher education, it seems like you're going to be a higher earner. It's going to put you into a different tier. And I am an outlier. I never completed college. I have some college, but I got into my field, and air traffic control, if you look it up, is consistently in the top 5 highest earning careers you can have without a college degree. Like us, tugboat captain, and I forget what the other one is, but I'm an outlier, right? My counterparts who have degrees, at least a bachelor's degree, generally speaking, would have done better than I did. But again, I went to the military and I had the training. So there you go. About half or a little more of adults with either some college education or a high school diploma only were in the middle class in 2021. But these two groups, along with those with less than a high school education, experienced notable drops in their middle class shares from 1971 to 2021, and noticeable increases in the shares in the lower income tier in 2021. So a lot of us we fell off. That's how I'm reading this. In 2021, about 4 in 10 adults with only a high school diploma or its equivalent, 39%, were in the lower income tier, about double the share in 1971. So there you have it. That's all 7 points right there, bro. And then definitely give this a read. Like if you guys find it, I will clip it below. But definitely give it a read. It's some good information in here. And they were talking about household incomes. They were breaking it down. What they considered upper income, middle income, and lower income, and they had numbers. Like for instance, the U.S. rose from, incomes rose the most for upper income households in the U.S. from 1970 to 2020. And here they had in 1970, lower income was $20,604, and today it's $29,963. So you can see the increase there is like a 45% change. And then middle income, 1970 was like around $59,934. And today, middle income is considered $90,131. So that's the 50% change. When you look at that, your middle income, and again, that's generally speaking, that's 2 earners today, because it's just not that many households with a single breadwinner, but there are a lot. And then upper income, 1970 was considered $130,000, and in 2020, $219,572 is considered upper income. So, and then I did see somewhere where someone was saying the new 6 figures is $250,000. So the new $100,000 is around $250,000 for an individual, because people are making more money. And I thought that was kind of crazy, but that was a different article. So I thought that was crazy. So that was the breakdown of that particular study. Now I wanted to talk some more about Brother Tate, Andrew Tate, right? So, and it's one of the things that he is. I have 3 clips that I'm going to play from Fresh and Fit, which I thought was pretty cool. Let me see if I can find this. And let's see here. Let me see if I can share this. I promise y'all I will get better as time goes on. Oops. And what I'm trying to do is the one with DJ Academics. Pull this up. Share. So I think I found it. Let's get this to listen. This This is Andrew Tate, who was on the Fresh and Fit podcast, and this is one of the after-hour editions when he's surrounded by a bunch of women. And a lot of people that you see the clips, the viral clips that comes from the after hours, and there's a lot of just dumb chicks saying dumb things or whatever. It is what it is. But people rarely go through all the content because this particular episode was over 4 hours. So, I mean, it's a lot to scrub through. So let's hear what Brother Tate was talking about here.
I get instantly angry. But what you need to do is, what are the words I'm about to say? Resist the slave mind.
So wait,
relax and say, you know what? You need to take a deep breath and go, she wants that.
Resist the slave mind. I love that quote. I use it all the time. Resist the slave mind. When someone comes to you and they give you some information and they're telling you to basically stay in your place, accept the blue pill, you're right, that Bravo popping mentality, man, resist that, man. Resist that. You know what I mean? You wanna push through, right? Resist that, man. You gotta resist the slave mind. And it's so funny because this same episode, there was a woman, and you're gonna see her in a second. She had an agenda. This woman is all about the womanist movement. She's all about girl power. She is refusing to accept any other truth than that, right? She refuses to resist the slave mind. And she got full of herself. They were talking about Eurocentric themes and this, that, like European, whatever, white privilege, just down the third. And she got big. She got big, man. So let me pull this up. I got this marked as well. Here it is. It's coming up 158. All right, I think this is it right here. So watch this little back and forth. And I mean, she came in. Actually, I'm gonna back it up just a little bit more. She came in really, really hardcore with it, man. Like she came in super hardcore with it. And I was just, I got a kick out of it. It just tickled me. Tickled. My father used to say it all the time. It just tickled me how Brother Tate handled this. I'm sitting here trying to find it. You know what? I'm just gonna jump back to. That's too far. I'm gonna try it right here and see where it is.
I agree.
I was trying not to jump in, and Myron was laying down. I was trying not to jump in. I heard the word Eurocentric.
Andrew, go ahead. You have extensive experience in Europe.
But when you don't listen, you don't learn. So
you
might not have that experience because you yourself, I see that you are a white man, so you may not have that.
You hear that? She going in. I see you a white man. You ain't listening. You ain't hearing what I'm saying. If you don't listen, I mean, she's just trying to say basically you stupid. I see you a white man. Okay. So let's continue.
Actually, you're on.
Can you load a picture? Can you load a picture?
White skin, and he is a man.
Can you put a picture of my? Can you Google and put a picture of my father on the screen, please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Your dad is a black man.
I'm mixed race.
You're
yes. I'm mixed race. So I'm half black and half white. So you can't give me the whole race argument, white man garbage. That's your only cop out. You can't do that to me. And the whole thing is Eurocentric bullshit. Listen to me. We have so because you just failed on step one by identifying me incorrectly. So
I'm not knowing you. I don't know you.
Of course you don't know me. So there you go. I don't know you, so I'm guessing you failed. So
you did the same thing earlier to me.
How? Where? In which area have I once failed?
We can run it back to the first 10 minutes.
You don't want to run this interview back because when you run it back, you're gonna see yourself get smoked the whole way through. So listen, my dear. Listen. The reason I agree, curvy is a good thing. I agree that women need more balls.
And I'm not gonna delve into everything he got into with that, but here's the thing. She was again. I'm a huge supporter. Kenora, what's good, brother? I see you. Andrew Tate is the man. He really is, bro. I co-sign on that. But in this particular episode, and I mean it's a long episode, but this is a really good episode. There's some craziness in there. Fast forward a little bit, but when they were talking about this point in particular, they were talking about the acceptance of love your curves and this and that being big and whatever. and I encourage you to go back and, please, if you're here checking it out, go back and watch this. But this woman in the blue top, the whole night was just chipping away, and she couldn't wait. She couldn't wait to shank him. You dig? She was waiting on it. And she went to race. And they always talk about this. So all my Bravo Papa people who are out there, this is what we're talking about. When you bring up these uncomfortable truths, when you bring up these facts, sometimes like they're accepted facts, the shaming language, the tactics that come up there are used against you. And she was waiting. She couldn't wait. I was sitting there, and it fascinated. I remember the night it came on, it fascinated me. I was watching it live, and I'm like, oh, I could see where she was going with it. I'm like, oh, she about to screw up. And then she did it. She called Andrew Tate a white man, as if that means that he has no say in whatever. Like he doesn't have, his input is meaningless because he's white. Word? Right? And then, of course, as they go on, they pull up pictures of his dad. His father's an African-American, served in the United States military, met his mom in the UK. They moved over. I think Andrew was born in Indiana. Not only is he black, but he's from the Midwest. You know what I'm saying? That's how we roll. That's why he's nice with his hands. Bottom line, because that's how we get down in the Midwest. You dig? So for the rest of the night, she was humble. He put her in her place, and she shut up. And notice, if you go back and watch this, he never like called her stupid, this, that, and the third. He didn't do that. He just talked right through her, and she had to sit there. Hey, when you go back and look at her expressions on her face, she had to sit there like, and she felt like this big, man. She felt that big. So it's one other part that I want to throw in here, because relationships might be the last hope for our way of life here in America. It might be, y'all. And what I mean by that is, just like the Pew Research article said, couples are killing it. Couples are doing way better than single folks on all levels. So it's something that we should think about. And that's all that people talk about. I'm sitting here trying to get this thing set. And can I bring it back a little bit? I can't. I'm going to try. So we are better together than apart. I'm not advocating getting married to someone who's horrible to you, that's a horrible person, who's going to rob from you, that's going to put their hands on you and all that kind of stuff. Man or woman. I'm not advocating for that. Right? I'm not. Find you a good person, right? Vet that person, men and women, vet them, right? Find out what their flaws are. Find out, it's like Sun Tzu says, know yourself, know your enemy. Find out, right? And look at their flaws. I'm like, you know what? If that's something that you can handle, I can deal with that. I could deal with the fact that they pick their teeth. I could deal with the fact that, I don't know, they like okra, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. Find that out, right? And then we realize, you know what, I can deal with this person. Click up. That don't mean get married. Click up. Work together. Sit down and hash it out more like a business arrangement if you have to. If you're young, go ahead and try to find your soulmate. Go ahead and try to complete that Disney fairy tale if that's what you want to do if you're young. Give that a shot. But if you're older, and a lot of us are, if you're older, look for that merger. You still want to find a good person, but look for that merger. You know what I mean? Don't worry so much about all the frivolous BS. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he swept me off my feet. Oh, she's a princess. I'm going to put her on the pedestal. Man, stay away from all that. Just figure out how y'all can make y'all lives better. Figure that out, right? If you got kids, figure out how you can set your children up and their children's children up. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how to do it, but I know this. If we stay single and we continue down this path we're going as a nation, I'm not sure if America can survive, because it's going to be the have yachts and the have nots. That's where we're headed. So I don't know, just food for thought. So this part right here, I wanted to end with this part, because we're talking about relationships. There's a lot of talk out there on the Bravo Papa side about women and, you know, getting the bag and being happy and all this other kind of stuff. And, you know, I can do bad by myself and all this kind of stuff. And just, you know, like fresh shares all the time, invest in Chewy because, you know, women are just choosing to be alone, right? They're having all these pets and whatnot. There's a very attractive woman that lives in my complex. Very, very attractive. Younger, but I mean, I would say she's in her late 20s, early 30s. And there was a stray cat, and she put food and water out for the stray cat. Now it's like 8 stray cats, right? All hanging out by her door. And it just blows my mind. Like, and she probably has pets, and she does have pets. She has a dog, as a matter of fact. I've seen her walking her dog. This woman should be with someone, you would think. She should be, you know, starting her family or probably working on her second or third kid or whatever, you would think, but she's not. And you keep pushing that back. Eventually it's going to come to a point where you can't even have kids and you refuse to settle because you're doing well financially and you're overlooking the bottom 80 guys who may be a good fit because you're chasing the top tier guys who are just having fun with you. Like, it's crazy. And in one of these, it was in one of these episodes with Brother Tate, where he was talking about happiness and about the, you know, true happiness, and he basically called BS on getting a bag and waiting till later and this, that, and the third, and it's just one part I want you guys to hear that I thought was profound. And I actually was in the studio on this particular night. I was there. And let me back this up a little bit. Moving forward. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just gonna back it up to right about there. It is. Oh, I had it. There it is. Up. There it is. Up. I'm gonna start it here. So the conversation is, when should you have kids, and, you know, should you wait? Should you do this? Do you want kids? Whatever. They went around the table, and this is a separate episode. Again, shout out to Fresh and Fit. I hope I don't get a copyright strike. I doubt it. I doubt it. I'll hit up Fresh when I'm done here and tell him what I'm doing. But like I said, these are solid dudes. They support people. I don't do hit pieces and nothing like that on anybody. Certainly I'm not gonna do it to my own people. But check this out, y'all. And let me freeze it because technical difficulties here. I forgot to change the thing on the screen share. So just give me 1 second, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm learning. Cut Uncle Saint some slack. This one was heated debate. Bam. And here we go. Oh, hold on. Let me get the. Ooh. All right, here we go.
So you do want, okay, so you don't want kids?
Do you want kids,
Do you want kids?
Oh,
or
yeah,
not?
yeah.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
My life without children is vapious, and it's inane, and it's pointless. And you may sit here and think that your career matters, but the truth is that your job will fire you out of whim and don't give a second. Don't give a solitary shit.
So true.
And when you're 52 and you're past it with no grandchildren in a house by yourself, and all your friends have grandchildren in this beautiful life, and you're sitting there by yourself, do you think the fact that you can afford a few extra Gucci bags is going to genuinely make you feel happy? I was at my grandmother's 93rd birthday. I looked there. My grandmother had 9 children because there was my father and 8 more. They all had a bunch of kids, blah, blah, blah. I stood there and I looked at my 93-year-old grandmother, and there was a room, a whole room full with maybe 70 people that came from that one woman. Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah.
That nobody cared about her career. Nobody asked what job she did. Nobody asked how many times she went to the club. Nobody asked if she had time to go to festivals. No, you had 70 sentient beings, including myself, full of life from one woman who dedicated herself to being a mother and a good wife. That is beautiful. And if you sit here and genuinely think that you're going to work your ass off through your fertile years, and by the age of 54, you're not going to be suicidal alone with a cat, then you're dumb. You are
Me right
dumb.
now.
I'm not
You
saying
are
I just
dumb.
wanna
Perfect
comment.
plug here.
Yo, Real talk. What's good, Candace? Thanks for the love. Candace M, one of the monster mods over there at Fresh and Fit World. Yeah, what's good? Yep, saw that one too. Me too, bro. Thanks for that. I think I've seen every episode with Andrew. Yeah, I study those episodes. I ain't gonna lie. And when I met Brother Tate, I told him that. Like, I study your words. He's younger than me. I'm 52 years old. He's like in his 40s. Like, he just got into his 40s. I study dude's words, bro. But that right there, that clip, that little bitty clip, every woman that I meet in her 20s, I send them that clip. I make them watch that. Listen to this man. Listen to what he's about to say. And really listen. And you look, when you watch that clip, see how sincere Brother Tate is. He's come out of the Cobra Tate persona. It was a long night. You know what I mean? He popped in that night. I remember it vividly. He was at the end, and he was, that came from the bottom of his heart. He meant that shit. He meant that. You hear what he said. And every woman at the table, all of them, they walked out of there thinking about what he said. Right? Candace, yeah, invest in Chua. Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually about to pick up some more shares. Shout out to me for rocking the merch. Yeah, of course. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm gonna rock the merch, especially if I'm gonna be using clips. But thanks for the love. Thanks for coming through. But I just wanted to end with that. With women out here, you know what I mean? The boss babe, this womanist that's out there right now today who has all the answers. I'm going to build myself up. I'm going to make all this money, and then it's going to make me happy. It will not. Will some women be okay with that? Yes. But the majority of women, would they be okay with that? Absolutely not. It's what he says. You're stupid. If you're a woman and you really believe that, you're going to gamble with your peace of mind, with your mental health. You're going to gamble with your lineage. You're not going to have any more kids, right? You could be like the only child your parents ever have, and that's it. When you're gone, it's gone. That's it. No more. Because you want a couple more Louis bags, some Gucci bags, some red bottoms, right? You want to be able to go into a Salt Bay restaurant, or you want to be able to hang out with Brother Tate, with Uncle Saint, you know what I'm saying, ride around in Fresh's Lambo. You think that's going to fulfill you? It's not. It absolutely isn't. I'm a dad, right? I've cloned myself. I have my daughter. I have my son. Yeah, there's some issues out there, but guess what? My son's going to come find me. Boys always find their dads. Always find their dads. And I got everything in 1080p, live and direct. I got it all right there, so he can make up his own mind. But I just wanted to leave y'all with that, man. Because, like I said, Brother Tate, man, I study his words. I challenge everyone out there. If you're Bravo Papa, if you're Rip, if you're Romeo Papa, if whatever you are, I challenge you to go and scrub through, especially the Fresh and Fit episodes, like 3 or 4 of them. Scrub through those episodes. Listen, like, it's going to be a bunch of BS out there, some stuff you don't want to hear, but there's going to be some stuff that you need to hear, right? Coming from a guy who built himself up. Colonel Sanders was good, man. The level of entitlement that modern women have only proves their short-sightedness. Women who invest in their futures invest in their man. Okay. Real words right there, brother. I see you. But that last bit right there, I mean, that's just, I'm gonna run it back one more time, y'all. Just that last bit. What was that? 46:10. I'm gonna start it from here. I'm gonna run this back one more again, and I'm gonna close out. So listen to these words, y'all. Listen to these words this man is saying.
Then you're dumb. You are
Let me
dumb.
back this up some more.
For the military. Then I'm also minoring in motion pictures.
Trend. What about you?
And I'm sorry, y'all. I couldn't drop on it.
Bro, you stupid, dog.
What happened?
They all had a bunch of kids. Blah blah blah.
So you do want? Okay, so you don't want kids.
All right, so
You want
it's
kids. You
coming
want
up right
kids.
now.
Oh
Or
yeah,
no?
yeah.
So
Oh,
just
you-
listen to this part. He's about to pull it
The
up
life
right now.
without children is vapious, and it's inane and it's pointless. And you may sit here and think that your career matters, but the truth is that your job will fire you out of whim and not give a second, don't give a solitary shit.
So true.
And when you're 52 and you're past it with no grandchildren in a house by yourself, and all your friends have grandchildren in this beautiful life, and you're sitting there by yourself, do you think the fact that you can afford a few extra Gucci bags is going to genuinely make you feel happy? I was at my grandmother's 93rd birthday. I looked there. My grandmother had 9 children because there was my father and 8 more. They all had a bunch of kids, blah, blah, blah. I stood there and I looked at my 93-year-old grandmother, and there was a whole room full with maybe 70 people that came from that one woman. Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah.
That nobody cared about her career. Nobody asked what job she did. Nobody asked how many times she went to the club. Nobody asked if she had time to go to festivals. No, you had 70 sentient beings, including myself, full of life from one woman who dedicated herself to being a mother and a good wife. That is beautiful. And if you sit here and genuinely think that you're going to work your ass off through your fertile years, and by the age of 54, you're not going to be suicidal alone with a cat, then you're dumb. You are
Me
dumb.
right now.
Dumb. Anybody out there that's watching this, man, please, you know some young women, show them that. Show them that. Show it to them 3 or 4 times. Show it to them. This whole City Girls, Nicki Minaj, Britney, show them that. Yo, I'm DL Saint. This is the DL Saint I really want to know podcast. I'll talk to y'all later.